Good afternoon, and thank you for tuning on to Chinatown News. My name is Joshua, and I'll be your host for today. Today we will be reporting about the declining Jewish community in the Lower East Side of New York City, also known as Chinatown. Later on in the segment, we will turn our attention to the yeshiva school known as Yeshiva Mesivta Tiferet Jerusalem on East Broadway.
Hello, this is guest host Sarah Katz, continuing the segment with the history of the Lower East Side. Before Chinatown became Chinatown, the area was actually the home to the Jewish community. However, over the past several decades, the Jewish population has dramatically declined. When did this start? Why is this happening? How did this affect the Jewish population? These are the questions we want answered. We went to interview Rabbi Friedman, a resident of the area for over 40 years now, about his first-hand experience about the changing dynamic in order to answer these questions. Here's an excerpt from that interview.
When some of the synagogues went out, a few synagogues went out, they didn't have any more minyan, which means a quorum. Then once some of the synagogues closed, then you see some of the Jewish community was declining. There's so many synagogues active on the Lower East Side, but the fact that instead of a new synagogue coming in, an old synagogue going out,
You lose that.
that's where you see it. The issue with housing was a big issue because the apartments were not big. You only be able to have many apartments, only two-bedroom apartments. And the person says, I have a few children and they want a larger apartment, a larger place. There's no way really to go. There's only a limited amount of three-bedroom apartments on the Lower East Side. So in each building, every floor, certain buildings only have 1 3-bedroom. It means all the other apartments are 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom or studios. So the housing would be the number one issue. The problem is once you don't have sufficient housing for the families, in the old days, people were able to live in smaller quarters. There were a lot also Jewish shops. There were many Jewish shops that also went out of business. So it would affect religious life. Like you don't have very few Jewish bookstores are left. There used to be a number of Jewish bookstores. There's pretty much no official bookstores. You might have someone selling on the side some Hebrew books, but that's not their main focus. So that's how it will affect me. If I would want to go to a Jewish bookstore on the Lower East Side, I would have to travel. That would be one of the ways religious items are not as available to buy as in a bookstore like we used to have. The interaction with the Jewish community and the Chinese, they get along excellent together. There's no problems. There's no bad feelings between each other. Everyone respects each other. They live side by side. Live in harmony. Even the yeshiva, which you went to, is on the block of. It's right. Where it's full of Chinese all the way on the right and on the left, and everyone is fine. I would think that if you see there's an issue with housing on the Lower East Side, things have become very expensive, and therefore it's more difficult for young families to move in. I would say if the synagogues close, then people would leave. But as long as there are a large amount of synagogues that are vibrant, on the Lower East Side there's maybe 18 synagogues that are vibrant, so that keeps the neighborhood strong.
We hope you found that segment as informative as we did. There are some other interesting bits of information that we did not have the time to include. These include some information about the Jewish community, how they do not see a divide between the Chinese community, and unlike the Chinese community, the Jewish community actually voluntarily moved out of the area. They did this because of the limit in city housing, most of which are only 1 or 2-bedroom apartments, as well as the achievement of the American dream of owning their own house in the suburb. Also, despite the declining trends, Rabbi Friedman does not see the Jewish community disappearing completely anytime soon. Now onto the Yeshiva School. The school was founded unofficially in the 1880s. It was officially incorporated as the Yeshiva School in 1907. Throughout its history, it's been in several locations. It was originally located at 87 Eldridge Street, then due to rapid growth, it relocated to 115 Hester Street. It relocated several more times before finally moving to where it is today. It first relocated again to 240 Madison Street, then 13 Montgomery Street, and then finally 145 East Broadway, where it stands today. The Yeshiva School was founded to fulfill the long-standing Jewish tradition of education. Being that the Jewish community in the Lower East Side was sizable in the 1880s, it made sense that a religious institution would open. While it's difficult to track the exact source of the school's initial funding, it was likely paid for in small amounts by community members and leaders. The school is famous for being under the leadership of Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, an acclaimed Orthodox American rabbi and halachic paskin, or Jewish legal authority. Now it is run by Rabbi David Feinstein, the eldest son of Rabbi Moshe, and as well as Rabbi Yisachar Ginsburg. When the community was expanding, the school expanded as well. In the 1960s, the Yeshiva School bought the adjoining building 147 East Broadway. This was arguably its most significant expansion. Now that the Jewish community is shrinking, the school is also contracting. Upon entering the building, the age of the yeshiva is obvious. It has been renovated a couple of times, and during the most recent renovation, there was an addition of electricity. However, unlike most modern buildings, the wires are visible and seen throughout the building. Today, the school is still an all-male institution and serves students from kindergarten to the 12th grade. The school teaches the standard secular subjects, including English, math, science, and history in the morning, and Gemara, Navi, Chumash, Ivrit, or Talmud, prophets of the Old Testament and Hebrew in the afternoon. Also, there is prayer 3 times a day and meals twice a day. According to Rabbi Yisachar Ginsburg, 80 to 85% of the students live in the Lower East Side, and 15 to 20% of the students commute from the surrounding areas, which include Brooklyn, Queens, and New Jersey. There are approximately 120 students in the elementary school and about 50 in the high school. With the declining population in the area, you may wonder how the school continues to run. Well, most parents find out about the school through word of mouth. Parents appreciate the small class sizes of 10 to 15 students per grade level and therefore decide to send their students to this school as opposed to many other Jewish institutions around the New York tri-state area. While Rabbi Friedman proclaimed that there is a pleasant interaction between the Jewish and the Chinese communities, Rabbi Ginsburg claims that the school has no real interaction with the Chinese community. However, because the Jewish community is shrinking in the Lower East Side, the school does have relationships with other Jewish institutions in the area. One example is the school takes its students to visit the first Sha'arei Israel cemetery every year. This cemetery holds the burial site for some Jewish folks who fought in the Revolutionary War in 1776. Despite the shrinking population, Ginsburg claims that the school has a strong position in the community. They have positive relationships with politicians, including City Councilwoman Margaret Chin, who regularly visits the school. In addition, you will see photos of Ginsburg and past elected officials, including Bloomberg and Giuliani, lined up on the shelf in his office. In fact, he himself is even on the community board. Rabbi Ginsburg sees the school remaining in Chinatown for this foreseeable future. The school intends on being the Jewish fixture in the community as long as there are Jewish children to teach, and even though the community is small, the school will find a way to operate. The school will continue to try new tactics like small class sizes to attract people back to the yeshiva school. In addition, other factors such as the illustrious history of being under Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, in-house meals, Jewish scholars, and open environment will continue to attract students from the neighboring areas. There is no doubt that the area we know as Chinatown is changing. While we see growth in the Chinese population, Ginsburg suggests that a different population is moving in. He believes that the people moving in are those that we identify as hipsters. Regardless, Rabbi Friedman believes that the diversity provides a positive change in the area, as long as the Jewish identity is not lost. The yeshiva school will be there to ensure that the Jewish identity stays alive in the area that's quickly losing its Jewish population. Thank you for tuning in to Chinatown News. We hope you enjoyed learning about the Jewish community in New York City's Chinatown. While this was a free broadcast, Alex and I are more than willing to accept an A in this class as compensation. Thank you again, and so long.